Hello everyone, am I audible? I'm just checking the messages. Doraemon ka message aaya, namaskar. So other people, if you can see me, if you can hear me rather, and like if you can see and hear me both, just message you can see and hear me, because yesterday we had an issue. Cool. So I think we are fine to go. So let's start. So yesterday we had a session, and in between, like yesterday I was seeing the messages and everything. So there were some people who said ki sir did not answer my query and everything, and he was saying namaskar or something. So again, yesterday we had some hiccups, so I was not able to see the chat. So in between we'll be having the discussion, and in between I will also see the chat, whatever you are saying, and we'll be discussing it. So yesterday we have discussed that StudyIQ, we are launching a free Prelims 2025 course, crash course rather, and that will include history, history along with other subjects. So we'll start with history. The first lecture today is Sources and Stone Age. In the orientation session which happened yesterday, we have also talked about that who am I? Why will you believe me? And how will I ensure your Prelims 2025 success? So you can go back. If you have not seen that orientation session, you can see it and then you can come back. But again, right now the point is you have to watch this particular video, because this is the first lecture, and the orientation session was just, as the name suggests, it was an orientation session telling you something about me and my students. So sources and Stone Age, when we talk about ancient history, or when you talk about history per se, you need to know certain things. Like, first of all, sources. How are you studying history? And what are the different sources? Okay, so Jai Hind everyone. So yes, how are we studying history? So there is a word which is known as historiography. So historiography means way of writing history. Please understand this is very important. And from this particular portion, so many questions have been asked, like we'll talk about certain things here. So historiography, way of writing history, and different sources of ancient history if we talk about, and not only ancient history. If you talk about history per se, what are the different sources? There are two major sources. One is archaeology, and the second is literary sources. Please understand this, direct questions have been framed from it. And in fact, sources, when we are talking about this particular sources, we'll talk about archaeology, we'll talk about numismatics, we'll talk about epigraphy, we'll talk about literary sources. So again, we'll talk about so many things that when we are going into subsequent lectures of history, you'll feel like we are having a revision. Because let's say archaeology. In archaeology, people generally believe that we are talking about temples and palaces, etc. Good evening everyone. So people generally feel that archaeology is confined to temples, palaces, etc. No, even epigraphy, that is study of inscription, numismatics, study of coins, etc. they are also included in archaeology. Literary sources, so archaeology has many facets, and here we are talking about two major aspects of it rather, epigraphy and numismatics. They can directly ask you, not in UPSC, but in general, like what is epigraphy, what is numismatics, hope you can see it. And then in literary sources, you can divide it into two parts. That is indigenous sources, books which has been written by authors from India or Indian subcontinent, and foreign sources. And you have to understand it with example. Let's say we talk about indigenous sources of literary sources. And let's say I just do this. So indigenous sources, indigenous literary sources. Arthashastra by Kautilya, or you can talk about Panchatantra by Vishnu Sharma. Remember the name is important. Foreign sources, Indica, written by Megasthenes. So do remember these names are. Please provide us the roadmap for 100 days program. It will help us to plan better. I will do that, Pradeep, don't worry about it. And you can see the orientation session also. There we have discussed that we'll be doing 40-45 days. We'll be covering the whole history crash course, just like we have done it, and I have done it in the previous years crash course. The difference is that was paid. This will be entirely free. Nothing will be left. And again, one more question which generally people ask is that if we are doing sources and Stone Age, so sir, will your source do we have to read from any other source? The answer is no. Just read this, whatever we are discussing right now. There will be questions at the end of the session. See how many questions you are getting correct, and you can post it in the comment section. Let's say there are 8 questions and you got 4 or 5 correct. You can post it in the comment section that you got 4 or 5 correct. Cool. And what else I was talking, that yes, you don't have to read anything apart from this particular lecture on sources and Stone Age. How you can supplement it, just watch this video 1 or 2 times, watch the PPTs, and then solve some mocks, and whatever additional information you get on sources and Stone Age, just in your notes, just add them. You don't need to read multiple books. There's no limit, bro. Like when you're reading history, geography, environment, people are doing PhD on a particular subject. So there's no limit to all these things. You can keep on reading them. But we have to study from exam perspective. So there has to be a limit. So this is the limit. You just follow this PPT, follow what I'm telling you, and solve mocks, and some more mocks. So yes, please understand this historiography way of writing history is confined to, and if you talk about the sources, that is mainly confined to archaeology and literary sources. I will just give you an example. When we talk about Indus Valley civilization, so here our main source is archaeological, because we have not been able to decipher the Indus Valley civilization script, and it is in news also currently, because Tamil Nadu CM M.K. Stalin, if I'm not wrong, he has announced some $1 million prize for people who will be deciphering IVC, and there is a linkage with Dravidian culture and all these things, because bull is a symbol in Harappan civilization, and bull taming is a very famous sport down south. So you can read that particular news. It was there in January 2025, and that's how you link history with current affairs also. You keep a track of what is happening around you rather, and IVC is in news, so there is a very high probability rather that questions will be asked from IVC. Hope I'm making some sense. Let's move on, because we have a lot to deal with, and in between I will keep on seeing your chats. Okay, whatever doubts you have, you can keep on posting in your chats. I will take all of them, let's say after 10-15 minutes of whatever we have discussed, and then we'll discuss the doubts. So don't worry, any doubt, any or whatever query you have, you can post it in the doubt section. So archaeology, as we have just discussed, this is not only confined to, let's say, palaces or temples, etc. Anything and everything which is like written on a hard structure, like there is in NCERT, they talk about two things. One is manuscript, and this is very important. One is manuscript. The second is inscription. Manuscript and inscription. What is the difference between manuscript and inscription? NCERT asks. And again, this is very important. Manuscript is generally written on soft surfaces, palm leaves and paper, etc. Inscription is written on hard surfaces. Please understand this. They can just ask you, what is the difference between manuscript and inscription, and they can give you 3-4 options. So inscription part, even manuscript part and inscription part mostly comes under archaeology, but this is not the only thing. Even epigraphy, coins, and as you can see here, bones, seeds, pollen, seals, even pottery. We'll talk about pottery when we'll talk about Chalcolithic period. Like most of the knowledge we have of Chalcolithic period, that will be done in the next lecture, that we have from BRW pottery, black and red ware pottery. And again, people who have studied from me earlier, they must be knowing about that there is a mnemonic for pottery. How you will remember the chronology, just like our honorable minister sir says, understand the chronology. So you have to also understand the pottery chronology, BOPN. We'll talk about it in the next lecture when we are talking about Chalcolithic period per se. So black and red ware, ochre colored pottery, painted grey ware, and northern black polished ware. We will keep on talking about which period used which pottery predominantly. Again, that is for later. So what are the benefits of archaeology? So first of all, it helps us to study prehistory, proto-history, and history. Now there are keywords here from pre as well as means perspective, but mostly we are focusing on the pre part because we are preparing for prelims crash course, right? So you have to understand these terms. What is the meaning of prehistory? What is the meaning of proto-history? And then we know the meaning of history, right? So what is prehistory? History before the invention of writing. Any kind of history which was or which happened before the invention of writing, that is prehistory. Oh my God. And what is proto-history? Now this is tricky. They can directly ask you which of the following sufficiently defines proto-history. So there are different interpretations. For making me understand you that particular thing, we have to understand certain Stone Age period, like Paleolithic period, which is the oldest period. Then you have Mesolithic period. And then you have Neolithic period, right? So what generally happens is Paleolithic period, what is the basic difference between them? Or like how will you segregate Paleolithic from Mesolithic, from Neolithic? What is the differentiation? They all belong to Stone Age, meaning they were using stone tools. But the point here is, how will you distinguish between Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, and Neolithic period? So in Paleolithic period, in simple terms, they were using bigger stone tools. Cool. And then what else? They were doing hunting gathering in Paleolithic period. Hunting and gathering. There's a very famous philosophy here Some people say that initially we were gatherers. Initially we were gatherers. And why is that philosophy there? Because according to, again, different scholars, initially our body, digestive system, or like the whole small intestine, large intestine part, was not accustomed to absorbing animal meat. And we were doing the gathering part, fruits gathering. But later on, the philosophy of survival of the fittest, you have to eat something if you want to survive. And let's say you're not getting the fruits, you have to eat animals. And slowly and gradually our stomach, our body got accustomed to that, and the whole hunting thing began. So again, that is a debatable point, what happened earlier, gathering or hunting. Most of the scholars now converge on the fact that gathering happened first and then hunting happened. It's not like which came first, chicken or egg. It's not that kind of a scenario. Fine. Then Mesolithic period. So stone tools will become more and more refined as you go from Paleolithic to Mesolithic to Neolithic. So in Mesolithic period, smaller stone tools, which are known as microliths. And many people say that domestication of animals started in the Mesolithic period. And then Neolithic period, much more finer tools and beginning of agriculture. So there is a saying now that Paleolithic to Mesolithic is an evolution. Mesolithic to Neolithic is an evolution. But many people believe that Mesolithic to Neolithic is not only an evolution, it is a revolution. And that term has been given by Gordon Childe. So what does he mean when he says that? He means that the whole thing changed. In Paleolithic and Mesolithic period, people were having nomadic lifestyle. Nomadic lifestyle. They were moving from here to there. But what happened in Neolithic period, when you have started cultivation of agriculture, or when you have like the beginning of agriculture has happened and you have lands, so you have to stay at one place, because of which you will adopt sedentary lifestyle. So everything changed. There's a book, very famous book, Sapiens. You will know Harari. He has given very interesting analogy on like how this is history's biggest fraud, this beginning of agriculture, how we were much better off when we were just roaming around here and there. The life was much more adventurous then. If you're living at one particular place, it's very boring. And again, you can read that book in your free time. This is not the time to read Sapiens, but yes, that is actually a very, very good book. You can refer to it. Fine. So let's move on, bros. And yeah, so we are talking about certain things here. Just a second, just give me a second. No, this happened here. So we were talking about this thing, that prehistory, protohistory and history. So Neolithic period, generally people believe that this agriculture thing, it came around in Indian subcontinent around 7000 BCE. So date is not fixed. Indian subcontinent 7000 BCE, Mehergarh, which is in Pakistan. There we have earliest evidence of wheat and cotton cultivation, and it varies. Like in African continent, Neolithic period arrived at different period, like different age, or the date will be different. So Indian subcontinent around 7000, 6000 BCE. So now we will understand what is protohistory. So protohistory, there are different definitions of protohistory. And what are the different definitions of protohistory? So some people believe that prehistory we have just discussed, history before the invention of writing, and almost 99% of history, which we are talking about right now, is prehistory. Protohistory, like let's say there is a culture. Let's say there is a culture, let's say IVC. IVC has a script, but it has not been deciphered, not deciphered. So it will lie in proto-history, not deciphered, proto-history. Then there is a saying that let's say there is a culture which does not have their own written record, but they are mentioned in some other civilization. So let's take an example of Chalcolithic culture. We'll talk about it in the next lecture. So Chalcolithic culture, so what they have, when we talk about it in the next lecture, you will realize that this is a ruler civilization. They don't have their own record, means writing. Most of the information which we have is from their pottery. And the pottery which they have is BRW, black and red ware pottery. So what does it mean? What is inverted firing technique? We'll talk about it later on. So proto-history says that let's say we decipher IVC script some time from now, because already so much money has been like declared that it will be given to the person who will decipher it, or group of person who will decipher it. So let's say IVC script has been deciphered, and in this IVC script, if they talk about their contemporary Chalcolithic culture, understand this, IVC is an urban civilization. Chalcolithic is a ruler civilization, but many portion, or a substantial portion of Chalcolithic culture converges with IVC. So you can understand this as like Chalcolithic are neighbors of IVC, or some portion of Chalcolithic people are neighbors of IVC. So maybe they have mentioned about Chalcolithic culture in their writings. In that scenario, Chalcolithic culture will also go inside the proto-history. So again, you may feel like, sir, this is so confusing. I'm not understanding what you are saying. So there is confusion, and that's why there was a third definition of proto-history. Third definition was, don't confuse people so much. People are already so confused. We don't only have to study history. We have to study so many things. So let's include everything from Neolithic to Iron Age in proto-history. So Neolithic is 7000 BC. This is a rough figure. Again, understand this. Different books will give you different figures. So always play safe and write around 7000 BC. Always play safe. Iron Age, around 1000 BC. It's not uniform. So all this time period from 7000 to 1000 BC, many archaeologists, many scholars, they put everything inside this period in proto-history. I will just tell you what I just explained, all these meanings. That is what I have discussed. In European context, sometimes used to refer to people who did not themselves have writing, but who has been mentioned in written records of contemporary culture. So here you can understand with who did not themselves have writing is Chalcolithic culture, and who are mentioned in written records. You can understand with IVC. If we decipher IVC and there is mention of Chalcolithic people, then they will satisfy this first criteria. In Indian subcontinent, Harappan civilization, they have a script, we have not deciphered it. That is also in proto-history, we have just discussed. Just like you people may have been confused, archaeologist says, put everything from beginning of food production, that is Neolithic period, to Iron Age, advent of iron technology, inside this proto-history, 7000 to 1000 BC. Again, we are talking about metals here. Chalcolithic, people using copper. Iron Age, people using iron. Understand a mnemonic. This is a very important mnemonic. And what is this particular mnemonic? CBI, which will tell you about the chronology of metals. Which metal came first? Copper, bronze, and iron. Now let me see some chat. Any new chat? Any new thing which you people have asked? BOPN, very good. Yeah, Pradeep has answered this. Recently, Tamil Nadu government announced $1 million for deciphering in the script, as Singara Jula Sandeep says. Good, very good. Yeah, that's what we were discussing. So let's continue. If you have any more doubts, anything, you can post it in the chat section. Keep it engaging. So all these things we have just discussed. Let's move on. Archaeology as source of history. What information we are getting about archaeology? Everything. Even in pre-perspective, we are dealing with facts here. But even from mains perspective, let's say you talk about that, it tells us about the crops grew, agricultural implements, how. You have to answer the how. You have to give some example. Meaning, let's say we talk about Chalcolithic culture. There we understand most of the information from archaeology, which in this case is pottery, and which in the Chalcolithic period is mostly BRW, black and red ware, which is prepared by inverted firing technique. What is inverted firing technique? We'll talk about it later on. So in black and red ware pottery, we have seen that they have paddy husk. In this Chalcolithic period, we have seen in their pottery paddy husk. Paddy is rice. So from that we deduce that, oh bro, they used to cultivate rice. In their pottery, we have seen fishes made, like diagram of fishes made. So maybe they used to eat fish, or they knew about fish. Then there are certain perforated jars. Perforated jars. Perforated jars means jars which has holes in them. I will show you in the next lecture when we'll talk about Chalcolithic period. So generally perforated jars are used for making wine. So that means they used to drink wine just like people these days drink wine. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink if you like. Fine. Let's move on. So again, excellent source of history of technology. We are seeing different evolution of pottery, black and red ware, then ochre colored pottery, then painted grey ware, then another black polished ware. It is telling you about the technology, how technology is growing, how different kind of pottery is being made. So all these things you have to substantiate it with facts. So again, problems. So we talk about the utility. What is the problem here? Changes in material culture. Again, if we say that this pottery or archaeology does not explain the change in material culture, you have to explain how. Again, we have talked about the mnemonic, which you people also have posted in the chat section. BOPN. So black and red ware ochre, painted grey ware, northern black polished ware. We will keep on saying it so that it gets etched in your memory. But why they changed from black and red ware to ochre? What necessitated the change? Like how the change happened? Was there any other evolution which happened during that period? All these things are left unanswered. And that's why when we talk about history, we talk about, and especially sources, we talk about a word called corroborate. Corroborate means whenever we are reading about archaeology or archaeological sources, you have to corroborate it with literary sources. We always have to mix and match. If the two sources are saying the same thing, that thing, very high probability that that is correct. Hope I'm making some sense here. Does not provide a complete picture of the material culture of ancient people. Again, whatever you are seeing, it's just like 1 or 2%. 90, 95, 98% has not survived. So it is giving you just a glimpse of what happened in the past. So we have to construct history from other sources now, because most of these things have not survived. Maybe where I'm standing right now in Gurgaon, and below the studio, there are certain archaeological aspects, but that cannot be excavated, right? We cannot just remove the studio. Similarly, below Rashtrapati Bhavan, something will be there. So again, hope you are understanding. Whatever we are seeing here is just a glimpse, just a very small, minute percentage. Cool, bro. So excavation, this is how excavation is done. This is called stratigraphy, when you are studying different layers. We'll talk about it. So stratigraphy, understanding vertical space. They can ask you what is stratigraphy. Again, just not very important. So just understand stratigraphy is layer. So you are digging up and you are understanding different layers. The layer which is at the lowest portion, that will be the oldest layer. Oh my God. So this you can understand by this, that let's say we are right now in this particular age and I die, so I will be buried or whatever, they may burn me. So again, they can do anything with me once I am dead. I don't care actually. So I will be buried, let's say, and then my grandson dies if I marry and if my son marries or daughter marries. So grandson will be buried above my layer and this thing will keep on going. So that's why they say, if you understand via that simple analogy, you can understand this layer is the oldest layer. And that is what they are saying, law of superposition. Earliest strata, typically the deepest. Again, just understand it and forget it. Don't worry about it. But you have to understand it for understanding the basic concept. Like when you're doing vertical excavation, you are understanding about the older ages. When you're doing horizontal excavation, let's say we are doing horizontal excavation like this. And if you see uniformity in features, like we did the excavation of Harappa, there was so much uniformity that shows they belong to a similar culture. So that's what this particular slide is saying. So hope I made some sense here. Let me just refresh the feed. Cool. Let's move on. Epigraphy, and understand this. Sources is a chapter which you may find tricky. You may feel like, sir, oh my God, in sources we have read so many inscription, Junagadh inscription, this inscription, that inscription, Aeol inscription. We will forget everything. Sources is just like a gist. They are telling you about different ways of understanding about history. And these sources, let's say if I talk about Junagadh or Girnar inscription or Ashokan inscription, when we'll read about modern history, they will again come and you will read about them again. So don't worry about it. Just understand that this is giving you a glimpse about what happened later on. So epigraphy, when we talk about epigraphy, what is the basic meaning of it? That is study of inscription. Numismatics, study of coins. Very good. So epigraphy, study of inscription. Any more queries here? We are fine. So yes, epigraphy, study of inscription. So here inscriptions can be carved anywhere and everywhere. Harappan inscriptions, they are pictographic inscription. We have not able to decipher it yet. But Ashokan inscription we are able to read because of James Prinsep, who has deciphered this Brahmi and Kharosthi script in which this Ashoka inscription has been written. And they are very important inscription. When we'll go into the modern period, you will realize that these inscriptions, Ashoka inscriptions, has been divided into 4 major parts. Major pillar inscription, minor pillar inscription, major rock inscription, minor rock inscription. So we'll talk about what among these 4 is the most important. Later on, don't worry about it. Just remember this name, James Prinsep. Who deciphered Brahmi and Kharosthi? James Prinsep deciphered Brahmi and Kharosthi. Factual information, important from pre-perspective. So this is how this Ashokan inscription looked like. Cool. So classification, and again there are different kind of inscriptions. Classification, official records. Ashokan inscription, you can keep it as official record. Ashoka wanted people to know in that period what he thought about. Okay, just give me a second. So Sanjeev, watch the orientation lecture like which we have done earlier. So, Sanjeev is asking 100-day plan with subjects. So our plan is 40-45 days. I will just give you an idea and we'll talk about it. 40-45 days we have to cover history. I'm just giving you a rough idea. So 40-45 days we'll be covering history from ancient to modern, including art and culture. And then we'll have 55 to 60 days, right? 55 to 60 days. And there we'll be covering the hotshot areas. I've just used the word hotshot areas of polity, IR, environment, polity, IR, environment. What else is left? Any other things or current events which is happening? Not only confined to these areas. So history in entirety will be doing just like we have done it in the previous like crash course, last year crash course. And again, I'm telling you that was paid, it is free. And then we'll talk about the other areas of polity, IR, environment. And again, if you go back and watch the orientation video, I've talked about different things which are in news. Let's say we are talking about Simlipal Tiger Reserve, that is in news. Then I have also told you, or maybe I have not told you, I will just tell you. Basic things, even in environment. National Park, Wildlife Sanctuary, Biosphere Reserve. What differentiates a national park from Wildlife Sanctuary to Biosphere Reserve? What is the basic difference between them? You know, Wildlife Conservation Act, Wildlife Protection Act rather, WPA 1972. There are different schedules. UPSC asks questions from it. So all these hotshot areas will be covering in the last 55 to 60 days. 40 to 45 days will be giving to history because it will also include art and culture. And this is actually a very marks fetching area, and this is also my area of expertise. I will not lie to you. So once you have done all these things, you don't have to go anywhere. I have told you, just do these things, revise these things multiple times and solve mocks. 60 mocks you have to solve from 20th March to 20th May. Hope I made some sense here. So let's come back to what we were doing. Classification of inscription, official record, Ashokan inscription, you can take it as like official records. He wanted to propound his Dhamma. And there are different theories regarding it, whether it was promotion of Buddhism or not. Many scholars believe that it was not a promotion, or it was not promotion of Buddhism. It was an ideological tool, Dhamma. Or Ashokan inscription was an ideological tool used by Ashoka to, like, you know, give certain common moral code of conduct, what his subject should aspire for or should do. Fine. Private record is, when we'll go into Satvahana period, which is the post-modern period, you will see many people are giving different loans, etc., or different grants, and many common people are also giving land grants to Brahmanas, etc. So they will be writing it somewhere. These are private records. Commemorative. So Ashoka erected a Lumbini inscription, and there he said that, oh my God, I visited Buddha's birthplace. So he's in a way commemorating that I visited that holy place, which I love or associate with myself so dearly. Donative is, again, it is similar to private record. I've just told you, donative is one part of private record. You can also record certain other things. You can record that, oh my God, my girlfriend has left me on a hard surface. That will be also a private record. So, but donative is you are donating certain land, etc. And that donation and this land grant system will become very prominent when we'll talk about Satvahana period per se. Cool. And then royal land grants, this period, this whole thing starts, like, you cannot say that this started only from this period. Even if one land grant happens earlier, that will discard the whole theory. But majorly we say Satavahanas started it on a large scale. Satavahanas, they came, or you will be hearing about them in post-modern period. We'll talk about these terms, don't worry about it, just listen to it like a story. So post-modern period is from 2nd century BCE to 3rd century AD. Maybe they can directly ask you, post-modern period corresponds to what particular timeline? So roughly 200 BC to 300 AD, that is 500 years. These 500 years are under the post-modern period, and within this particular 500-year period, Satavahanas will come, and they are majorly responsible for royal land grants or giving royal land grants on a larger scale. What is the implication of it? Did they not have currency? How it is equivalent or similar to Czech system? We'll talk about it when we'll talk about Satavahanas. Remember one key prelims fact. Satavahanas are also known as Lord of Dakshinapath. Oh my God. Now this is an important fact, bro. From every perspective. It has been asked so many times earlier. Now the question arises, what is Dakshinapath? So let's say if I make a bad map of India, and let's say we start from Bengal and we make, we make as a route like this, which is going to north, and a route from here which is going to south. So this route which is going to north, that is Uttar Path, route leading to north. Hope you are able to see it. And this is Dakshin Path, route leading to south. there was a period when Satavahanas have captured a major portion of South, and that's why they were known as Lord of Dakshinpad. So do remember this is actually important. Prasastis are eulogies, like Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta, written by Hari Sen. You can see it here. So eulogy is what? That, oh my God, my king is so cute, so handsome, he has done so many good things. We are not talking about Allahabad pillar inscription. We are not saying that Samudragupta has not done these many things. He may have done, but there is certain amount of exaggeration there, that he can do this, he can do this, he can marry 70 girls and at the same time, and he can defeat 70 kings at the same time. So there is certain amount of exaggeration, because again, let's face it, the person who is writing this prasasti, he has to earn the, like, you know, king has to be on his side. So for that, he has to praise him. Sometimes unnecessary praise is also there, with due respect to all the kings. So Allahabad Prashasti, Allahabad pillar inscription, there is a direct question. It is associated to whom? Samudragupta. And again, you may feel like, sir, you have not told us anything about Samudragupta. I will do that when we are talking about Gupta period. And then we'll talk about Samudragupta, like Chandragupta I, he came, and then Samudragupta came, then Chandragupta II came, you know, then Kumaragupta came, then Skandagupta came. What happened in their period, how they are known, how they are different from others, what unique thing we associate with each ruler, you know. So we'll talk about all of them when we are talking about Gupta period. Currently, we are talking about sources, and that's why you're seeing all these things. Hope again. So don't worry too much about it. Just listen to it like a story. And remember, this first lecture is important because from the sources only, you will get 2-3 questions directly or indirectly. So welfare work. Now this Girnar inscription, Girnar, Junagadh, same inscription. Girnar inscription is also known as Junagadh. What are the things which are important? This is actually very important inscription. You know why? I will tell you why. Ashokan inscription, UPSC has asked question on it. Allahabad pillar inscription, not only UPSC, every exam asks questions on it. But Girnar Junagadh inscription is relatively untouched. So there is very high probability that this year they can ask question on Girnar and Junagadh inscription. Why I'm saying high probability? Because generally what happens? One kingdom or two kingdom, if they're associated with a particular inscription, that inscription is important. But here, what is happening? Here, what is happening is three kingdoms you can see associated. I will tell you the story here. So see, Shaka ruler Rudradaman, this Shaka kingdom, that also happened in the post-modern period. Again, we'll talk about it when we are talking about post-modern period. So what he is saying that there was a reservoir, fine, and there is a Sudarshan lake, there was a water reservoir during the time of Chandragupta, and this whole reservoir was completed during the time of Ashoka, and this whole like modern empire. And then he constructed a reservoir again, or whatever, like he is talking about this Sudarshan lake, which was there at the time of Chandragupta and Ashoka. And then he made a reservoir on it, Shaka ruler Rudradaman, in post-modern period. And then Skandagupta, whose time period, if I'm not wrong, is from 455 to 467 AD. He again is saying that on the same rock, he is like that reservoir broke apart and he is repairing it. So in a way, if you see, modern empire is associated with this Girnar Junagadh inscription, then Shaka dynasty rather, that is associated with this particular inscription, and third, Gupta empire is associated with this particular inscription. So that's why this particular inscription becomes very, 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 very important, and you cannot ignore it. Junagadh Girnar inscription of Shaka ruler Rudradaman, where he has talked about so many things, and then Skandagupta has also talked about certain things here. Please mark it as very, very important. Sometimes what happens now, when you feel something is very important, we in our childhood, but still many people do it like this. They give 3 star, very important. Important 2 star, little bit important 1 star, or something which is not important or you will never forget, don't give any star. So you can follow this analogy. So what are the advantages of epigraphy? And again, understand this, it will help you in like giving you a crystal clear concept which you can use in prelims as well as mains. Advantages of durability rather. So when we say that whenever you are talking about these points, you have to always substantiate it with example in mains. Plus when you're understanding it like this, let's say I just show you this particular slide and I go like I don't speak anything at all, you will not understand anything. You have to, even if you're explaining this particular slide to anybody else, you have to give example for each of these points. Let me see if any other new chat is there or not, or some new queries you people have or not, because yesterday I was not able to. Repairs of that inscription, Pratik is saying, very good here, very good. Let's continue what we were discussing. So advantages of durability, what does it mean? Now let's go back to what I have told you earlier. There were 2 terms which I have discussed earlier. There was a reason for it. One was manuscript, other is inscription. So manuscript is written on soft leaves, etc. Literary sources, generally you write stories on it. So sometimes what happens now? Written on, let's say, palm leaves or paper. So water falls on them, or let's say I did this particular thing and they like went apart and they flew apart. But inscriptions, they are generally done on hard surfaces, bro. So there is a very high chance of them surviving centuries, years. That is durable. They are comparatively more durable. Inscriptions are comparatively more durable than literary sources. That's why 99% of the literary sources or books which has been written earlier have not survived, but many inscriptions have survived. They are durable. Hard surfaces are more durable. They can survive for a longer period of time. Changes and addition made to them can usually be detected. You can again go back to Girnar inscription. We have talked about that. Shaka ruler Rudhudaman has written something on it, and then Skandgupta has written something on it. We are able to detect the changes because they are hard surfaces. Even if they have written on the same part, there will be a difference in writing. There will be a difference in style. So we can understand the changes, but it is not very easy when we talk about literary sources. Arthashastra, Kautilya. Now there are many people who say we have studied it from like our childhood, that Arthashastra has been written by Kautilya. Now many people believe that this has not been written by a single author. This is the work of multiple people. Hope I'm making some sense here. Please understand this. Similarly, you may have heard about Panchatantra, which was written during Vakataka period. Who were Vakatakas? We'll talk about it when we are talking about Guptas. So Panchatantra, it has been written by Vishnu Sharma, who is also sometimes known as Vishnu Sharman. Sharman Joshi, he's an actor. So Vishnu Sharma wrote Panchatantra. Now many scholars believe that this is not written by a single guy. This is a work of multiple authors. Arthashastra is so big. So again, what we are not able to decipher who wrote it. So changes is not easy to detect. We are speculating more in literary sources, but we have more substances or more evidences. When any change has happened in inscription, we can understand from the change in the way of writing and everything, and how it has been carved on inscription, we can deduce who has written what. It's comparatively, you can easily detect it. Valuable sources of information on political history. And again, you have to understand this term. When you read mains also, you talk about pestle analysis. This is a very famous analysis. Political dimension, economic dimension, social dimension. Just give me a second. Yeah. I forgot one thing. Yeah. So when we are talking about economy perspective, right? Or let's say mains perspective, we talk about different dimension. You are writing an answer in mains, even like in essay as well as in GS, use different dimension. Political, economic, social, technological, anthropological, legal. Same way. When you're talking about this particular thing, political history, here we are talking about kings. So Allahabad pillar inscription tell us a lot about Samudrupta, how he was a ruler par excellence. Political history. Reflect the history of languages and literature. So when we are talking about, let's say, Mauryan inscription, Ashokan inscription, it talks about Brahmi Kharusti script. Then we are coming on to Allahabad pillar inscription. We are seeing the change in the language, the change in the culture, the change in the literature. And usually contemporaneous. Contemporaneous, this is actually a very interesting word. So Ashokan inscription belongs to the time when Ashoka used to live, right? But generally this is not the case with literature. Literature can be non-contemporaneous. Again, I have to prove it with example. Let's say I talk about a book known as Malvika Agnimitra. Malvika Agnimitra. Anybody who knows who wrote Malvika Agnimitra? If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. Fine. I will just see if you people know it. So Malvika Agnimitra, it is said that it is a book which is about a particular dynasty, Sunga dynasty, let's say, but it has been written in the Gupta period. So it is non-contemporaneous. I will tell you about another book, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishakha Datta. Remember these names. UPSC has directly asked questions on just match the following, which is correct, Mudra Rakshasa, etc. So Mudra Rakshasa, Vishakha Datta. So it talks about Mauryan period. There was a minister, Rakshasa. They used to call it Rakshasa. And in Bharat Ek Khoj, I generally suggest everyone, anyone and everyone, watch Bharat Ek Khoj. That is free, available. Like, it's totally free on YouTube. Bharat Ek Khoj. So when you watch Bharat Ek Khoj, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishakha Datta. So duration of a session per day, Shawai is asking. So we have like a particular thing to cover today. Sources and Stone Age. Once we are done with sources and Stone Age, we are done with the session. So it can take 1 hour, it can take 1.5 hours. So it depends on how much time that particular topic takes. It's like a crash course, so we have to cover different topics. So today's, there are two major topics, sources and Stone Age. Hope so where your doubt is cleared, right? So let's move on. Again, let's talk what we're talking. So we're talking about contemporaneous. Mudra Rakshasa, it's talking about Mauryan period, like, and Nanda dynasty, there was a minister, and Kautilya, he wanted him to be a part of Mauryan, Chandragupta Maurya army, and he was not accepting it. Bharat Ek Khoj, you can, if you go and watch it on YouTube, it is available for free, and Irfan Khan, etc., they all are there acting, and it's awesome. Shyam Benegal, he directed it. Unfortunately, he's no more now. So, yes. So, again, this whole means when we're talking about Mudra Rakshasa, it is talking about Nanda dynasty, Mauryan dynasty, but it has been written in Gupta period or post-Gupta period. So literature are generally or can be non-contemporaneous, but inscriptions are mostly contemporaneous. They are generally made during the time when that particular king or kingdom used to live or were there. Shows what people were actually doing. In literature, it is written that, oh my God, you have to wake up at 5 a.m., you have to do Gayatri Mantra Ucharan and everything. So there are, like, when we talk about history or literature also, you will realize there are two different types of text. Like, I will just write it. One is narrative text. Other is didactic. So narrative is like storytelling. I'm telling you a story. Like currently, it's like narrative. I'm giving you a story so that you can remember it in a much easier manner. Didactic is like Bhagavad Gita, where they are saying, please do your work, don't think about result all the time, right? So this is like many people say that practice what you preach, right? So inscription, they actually show what people were doing. Ashokan inscription, it shows what Ashoka was thinking about or what he was doing or what he wanted, like people from different communities to come together. But in literature, they are showing what they should be doing. Hope I'm making some sense here. Maybe they were not doing it, but there is a very high probability that in inscription, what they are writing, they are mostly doing it. So again, limitation is there that most of the inscription, this is archaeology. Again, I have discussed it. Below your house, there may be some inscription. We have not deciphered it. And whatever we have deciphered is just tip of the iceberg. So the whole discovery of inscription depends on chance. And they can be moved from in situ, ex situ. You read about it in environment also. In situ conservation, ex situ conservation. And again, UPSC has already asked a question on in situ and ex situ. So just give me an example, just write it in the comment section. See how we are connecting history with environment here. So what is the example of ex situ conservation? If you have answer, this is a UPSC PYQ. So what is an example of ex situ conservation? Any idea, any suggestions on this? Ex situ conservation, anybody who wants? Yes sir, Bharat Ek Khoj, some part watch. Very good, Gaurav. So when we are talking about ex situ conservation, in zoos, you see animals brought from different places and they are conserved there. This is ex situ. This is not their natural place of living. In situ is like natural park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve. So again, remember this from environment perspective also. So they are talking about disadvantages, exaggeration, Allahabad pillar inscription, any prashastis we talk about. And there are different conflicting claims. Like here they have given an example. One kingdom is saying something, other kingdom is saying something else. You can watch it, you can see it. And I will give you another example, which is not exactly this. There was a ruler, Harshvardhana. He ruled from 606 to 647 AD. Oh my God. And he belonged to Harshvardhana dynasty or Pushyabhuti dynasty. He said that he was or Shaklottar Pathnatha. There is a term associated with Harsha. Shaklottar Pathnatha. You can also remember it from pre-perspective. Which ruler is known as Shaklottar Pathnatha? Hope you can see it. Shaklottar Pathnatha. So Shaklottar Pathnatha, this in other words means Lord of Uttar Path. Like we have talked about Lord of Dakshin Path, who were Satavahanas. Lord of Uttar Path, Harsha used to tell himself that he has defeated all kings of the north. And also it has been said by like Ban Bhatt in his Harsh Charit that Harsha has not been defeated by any other king. Then there was an Ahiol inscription which said that no, there is a Raja or there is a king rather whose name is Chalukyan king, his name is Pulakesintu. He has defeated him. So there are certain contradictory claims which has been made. Literature, inscription, and that's what they are saying. This is a limitation. So you cannot rely solely on one particular source. You have to rely or you have to take multiple sources. You have to corroborate them, and that is very important. Okay. Botanical Park, Ujma has talked about it. So botanical, okay. So zoo, just remember zoological park, they are ex situ conservation. Now let's talk about other part of archaeology, that is numismatics, study of coins. They can directly ask you what is numismatic study of coins. There is an evolution system, right? So you have barter system. Earlier we used to like give me something, like give me blood and I will give you freedom. It's not something like give me blood and I will give you freedom. It's something like give me rice, I will give you wheat. Or give me your daughter and I will give you 200 rupees. No, that is dowry. So numismatics, coins, exchange of goods and products, that used to happen a lot. So there is an evolution system here also, like how things happen, barter, then gold, then metal coins, paper money, plastic card, electronic money, cryptocurrency. Oh my God, so many things happened. So when we talk about Indian subcontinent and evolution of money in like Indian subcontinent, so you find the earliest evidence, the hard evidence of punchmark coins. Punchmark coins, and that used to happen during the Mahajanpada period. We have found evidences of punchmark coins. How it used to look, I will show you. And these punchmark coins, they were made of silver. Again, UPSC has already asked a PYQ. Punchmark coins were made of what? So the answer is silver. So this you have to keep in mind. Fine. So punchmark coins made of silver, Mahajanpada period, and then during the post-modern period, and like there were Indo-Greek kings who are known majorly from their coins. They issued coins and they wrote something on one side, made faces on the other side. So many things we know about Indo-Greek kings from their coins. Gold coins were issued during the post-modern period. It was a very flourishing period because Indo-Roman trade was happening. Post-modern period, 200 BC to 300 BC AD. Why Indo-Roman trade was flourishing, we'll talk about it. One major reason was discovery of monsoon winds. That happened during the 1st century AD part. Discovery of monsoon winds. If you have read geography, see here what we are doing. We are connecting history and geography. So discovery of monsoon winds happened in 1st century AD. So if you know how this whole system works, let's say if I again make a poor map of India. So here, this is southeast, or let's say southwest monsoon winds, which is going from like this is blowing like this in summer. So seller will use the southwest monsoon wind and come to India in summer. And then there is northeast monsoon winds, which is blowing in winter, and they'll be using it, northeast monsoon winds, and they'll be going back from India. So discovery of monsoon winds played a crucial role in expanding Indo-Roman trade, among other factors. So again, this is an important point which you have to keep in mind. Pradeep is talking about Kushana's gold coins. Very good here. Let's move on. So again, this is punchmark coins. These are the earliest coins which we have found in our Indian subcontinent, and they are made of silver. And again, you can see here, UPSC has directly asked questions. If we have talked about post-modern period, Indo-Greek kings, Kushana rulers, Kanishka, he also issued gold coins. And then in the Gupta period is roughly around 318 AD to 550 AD. This is a rough figure. And this has been given by this particular figure of, or the date of Gupta period. It has been mentioned in Al-Biruni's book. Al-Biruni is the one who has stated what is the starting year of Gupta period. 318, 320 AD. There is a debate here. But which book Al-Biruni has written in which he has stated the starting year of Gupta period? Anybody? That book's name is, I will just pause for like 30 seconds so that I can breathe also. And in the meantime, you can think about what is the name of that book. Dinara gold. Okay, these are coins. The name of the book which Al-Biruni has written, which is actually a very important book. So many questions have been asked on it. That book's name is Kitabul Hind. Please remember it, I am writing it here only. Kitabul Hind. It is also known as Tahqiq-e-Hind. Kitabul Hind or Tahqiq-e-Hind. Al-Biruni's Kitabul Hind or Tahqiq-e-Hind. So please remember these names, these are important names. Fine. And again, just remember, in Gupta period, there were gold coins which were issued, they were known as dinara. Silver coins which were issued and they were known as rupaka. So gold, dinara, silver, rupaka. Maybe you can see it here. Gold, dinara you can see, and silver rupaka you can see here. They can ask you, dinara is a gold coin or a silver coin, rupaka is a gold coin or a silver coin. So you can just maximize this image and you can see all these things. Fine. Coin as a source of history, how it can tell you about a lot of things. Like, let's say there are coins and there are gold coins. In Gupta period, we saw a concept which is known as debasement of coins. Please understand these terms. They will help you in understanding so many things in a better manner. So debasement of coins. What is debasement of coins? So debasement of coin is, let's say, initially there was one gold coin which had 100 grams gold. But let's say initial Gupta rulers they used, we're just taking an example, later on. So initially this was the amount of gold which they were using in one gold coin. Later on, let's say it became 45 gram gold. They started using 45 gram gold later on. So that shows there is a scarcity, and this is debasement of coin. That happens right now also. Let's say we were using certain amount of copper or whatever and we reduced it. That shows there may be, or there is a high possibility that there are certain issues in your economy. Maybe you don't have enough gold. This debasement of coin happened in later Gupta rulers, or even like during the period of Skand Gupta. That showed that the economy was in decline, and that actually was the scenario. Indo-Roman trade declined because of the incursion of Hunas, who were Central Asian tribe or warriors, and they impacted British means Gupta period in a negative manner, right? So again, that's how they tell you about history. See, coins, from coins we deduce so much wear and tear. So the older the coins, the more wear and tear, and the lighter they will be. That shows these coins are much older. Let's say there is a coin, there are certain coins, one is weighing 50 gram, other is weighing 100, and the third one is weighing 150. So in a way you can deduce that the coin which is weighing 50 gram, it has to be, or there is a very high probability that this coin is older than the ones which are weighing 100 gram and 150 gram. So please remember these points. Source of political history. So again, during the period of, let's say, when we talk about different kingdoms or kings of Gupta period, so what we are talking about? We are talking about Skandagupta, and he issued different coins where he's playing Veena. So again, that shows that Skandagupta was very proficient in music also. He was proficient in everything, anything and everything. Economic history, we have just talked about the debasement of coin. Social and cultural history, again, here you also talk about, like here, source of political history, you can also talk about Indo-Greek kings. How most of our information is coming from their coins. And in social and cultural history, you can talk about Samudragupta playing something akin to or similar to Veena. Fine. So literary source. Now, when we have talked about archaeological source, we have to move on and we have to talk about means literary source. Archaeological sources we have done, and now we have to move on to literary source. We are currently in archaeological source, and like, let me again rephrase it. So archaeological source, we have done the major chunk of it, that is epigraphy and inscription. And when we are reading about historiography, I have told you archaeology is one part, the other part is literary sources or our literary sources, which can be divided into, let's say, indigenous sources, one which has been written by our authors or the authors which were there in Indian subcontinent, and foreign sources. Example is Indica. Major example is Indica by Megasthenes. Now here I have taken one history optional PYQ. Why I have taken a history optional PYQ to tell you about, or in a prelims crash course? The reason is this history optional, UPSC history optional PYQ will give you so much clarity on coin, or rather on literary sources, how literary sources used to be, like what are these sources. Like this particular question which was asked in history in UPSC history optional, how far can the ancient Indian Shruti literature be used as historical sources? This particular question will give you so much clarity on Shruti literature, what is like these literary sources, what do they mean? Like Shruti literature, Vedas, they are called as Shruti literature, Shruti, which can be heard. And many people believe that they are authorless. Many people believe that they are the voice of the God. Nobody knows who wrote them. Some believes God has written them or God has propounded them. Shruti, Smritis are Puranas. So generally these Vedas, they are considered to be religious text. Just remember, from prelims perspective, which are Shrutis? Vedas. Which are Smritis? Puranas. How many parts there are of Veda? So when I talk about, and when we talk about different parts of Veda, people start saying Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sham Ved, Athar Ved. They are not different parts of Veda. They are 4 different Vedas. Each Veda has 4 parts. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. First part Samhita, second part Brahmana, third part Aranyaka, and fourth part Upanishad. Since Upanishad is the last part of Veda, that's why it is known as Vedanta. Ved plus Anta, end of Vedas. Hope I am making some sense. Vedanta, Upanishad, Ved plus Anta, last part of Veda. So if you are seeing any Upanishad, So that means it has to be part of some or the other Veda. So parts of Veda, Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sham Veda and Athar Veda. Cool. So remember this. And then there is another question which is a very old question. Which is the oldest Veda? So most of the people are like Rig Veda is the oldest Veda. That is again not totally correct. When we'll talk about Vedic period, you will see there is early Vedic period, there is later Vedic period. Early Vedic period 1500 to 1000 BC. Later Vedic period 1000 to 600 BC. So in early Vedic period, we know there are 4 Vedas and each Veda has 4 parts. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. So 4 Veda in total has 16 parts. And it is said by Max Muller, and that has been like substantiated by Upinder Singh ma'am in her book Ancient and Early Medieval India, that Rig Vedic Samhita was written in the early Vedic period 1500 to 1000 BC. Rest 15 parts were written in the later Vedic period 1000 to 600 BC. So that means Rig Vedic Samhita is the oldest part of Veda, not whole Rig Veda is the oldest part of the Veda. Hope you understand this, because Rig Vedic Aranyaka, Rig Vedic Rig Vedic Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. So Rig Vedic Brahmana, Rig Vedic Aranyaka, Rig Vedic Upanishad, they were written in the later Vedic period. We'll talk about it more when we are talking about Vedic period later on. So again, please, hope you understood what I just gave a monologue here. Let me see what you have people are doing in the chat section. Okay, so here we are talking about, let's come back to the history optional question to understand how it is important from UPSC pre-perspective. I have just told you so many things related to pre, like what they can ask, what are Shruti literature, what are different parts of Veda, which is the oldest part of the Veda. Oldest Veda is a wrong question per se, according to Max Miller and Upinder Singh ma'am, who are like revered in history community. So again, now this question is saying that Vedas in general, they are religious texts, right? We associate it with Hinduism, religious text. Just like it can be also, you can also reframe it like how far can Bible be used as historical source? Bible is a religious text, Vedas are religious text. So can you use it as a historical source? So generally they say, and there is a saying here, and same thing I have just told you about Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad, you can see it here. So let's come back. What I was telling you. I was telling you that these books, like be it Vedas, be it Bible, they are religious text. Can you use it as a historical source? So here our thoughts, when we talk about all these things, now you just don't have to say whatever comes in your mind, you have to cite it. Who said it? So there is a ma'am, Romilla Thapar. Whenever I say Romilla Thapar in any lecture, people start posting it in the comment section about Romilla Thapar ma'am. We are not like here to judge a particular historian or writer or author. We are just saying which is like accepted by most of the people or different people. So Romilla Thapar ma'am said there are 2 forms of history. One is embedded form of history, other is externalized form of history. So externalized form of history, let's say this session which we are having, this is an externalized form of history. My main purpose here is to give you conceptual clarity in history. I'm here to teach you history. I'm not here to teach you Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or anything. I'm here to teach you history. So our NCRTs, so they are externalized form of history. Their main purpose is to tell you about history. They are not tilted one way or the other. Again, we can debate on that, but hope you're understanding what I'm saying. Embedded form of history is, so there is a religious text, there are Vedas, there are Bible. So Veda, when it was written, they will tell about the rivers. They will talk about the rivers, how rivers used to flow and how people used to treat other people. So that will give you a perspective on society. If they're talking about rivers, that will tell you something about historical geography. So Romilla Thapar ma'am says this is embedded form of history. I hope you're understanding. Embedded and externalized form of history. I've told you all these things. So again, you can use Veda as historical source. You have to just extract information out of it. So from here, what is important from exam perspective, pre-perspective, what are Shrutis, what are Smritis, what are different parts of Veda, which is the, like why Upanishad is called Vedanta, all these things, you must have got it by now. Cool, bros. So polytheism, cathenotheism. Again, let's talk about certain terms. We are again not here to propound any religion. We are just here to understand certain terms. They can be asked in one way or the other. Embedded and externalized form of history, I just told you people. So like there are different terms. Monotheism, we all know, believe in one God, worship of one God. Polytheism, believe in multiple gods. And then there is third term, cathenotheism. Just remember it in case they ask it, or in case UPSC make certain weird questions. Every exam makes UPSC like weird questions every year, and UPSC is no exception to it, with due respect to UPSC. So cathenotheism is what? So according to again Max Muller, what he says is this particular cathenotheism is a form of polytheism. But what will happen in this particular polytheism is, on different occasions, different gods will become supreme. Like in Diwali, Lakshmi Mata is supreme. In Durga Puja, Kali Mata is supreme. So this is cathenotheism. It's a form of polytheism, but on different occasions, different gods are becoming supreme, other gods are becoming non-supreme or secondary in nature. So hope you understood what is cathenotheism. Remember these terms, these are important terms. So now we are done with the first part, that is sources. We have talked about the first part in detail. That is the important part. Now Stone Age can do it because we are talking from pre-perspective. I've already given you a brief idea about, just give me a second. Fine. So now we'll talk about Stone Age per se. So Stone Age, they are using stone tools. Fine. And there is an evolution here. We don't have to understand like you know, what are means homo, different homos. Again, don't take it the other way. What we have to understand here are like these three words, Paleolithic, and like, again, there are jokes on it. So you can always have a look at this. Many people are like, we have to go back and we have to go to this particular phase because believe it or not, we are studying a lot right now. Again, jokes. Stone Age. So again, we have discussed in the starting when we're talking about proto-history that Stone Age, why it is called Stone Age? Because people are using stone tools and there is division. Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. You can say that there is a further division here. Paleolithic has been divided further. Mesolithic has been divided further. Neolithic has been divided further. Yes, true. But mainly Paleolithic has been divided further. But you don't have to do PhD on that. Upper Paleolithic, lower, middle Paleolithic. No. From pre-perspective, you have to just focus on what are the basic differences here. What are the basic differences between Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period? We have just discussed. They are all using stone tools. Difference is, as the time period will progress, the stone tools will become much more refined, much more smaller, much more efficient. So Paleolithic people, many people, or Paleolithic period rather, many historians, archaeologists, what they say that Paleolithic period is almost 99% of prehistory. Now again, you have to go back. What we have studied in prehistory. What was prehistory? Prehistory was history before the invention of writing. And that is a major portion of history. And in that major portion of history, almost 99% of prehistory is Paleolithic period. So most of our life, like most of the world which we are seeing, existed in Paleolithic period. It comprised a major portion of it. Mesolithic period, many people say that around 10,000 BCE, you witness Mesolithic period. We have just discussed the difference earlier. Paleolithic people, or Paleolithic period rather, bigger stone tools, hunting, gathering used to happen. Mesolithic period, smaller stone tools, they are known as microliths. Domestication of animals started according to various scholars. Hunting and gathering continued. Neolithic period, much more smaller stone tools. And here, agriculture will start. And that's why Gordon Childe has said that even though Paleolithic to Mesolithic means evolution, Mesolithic to Neolithic is not just evolution. It's a revolution, bro. It's a revolution. The whole life changed. Before Neolithic period, people were having nomadic lifestyle. Some people also say that this is a parasitic form of lifestyle. The lifestyle which they had was parasitic form of lifestyle. They were dependent on others. They were dependent on fruits. There's a very famous question also, which was given in NCERT, that why Paleolithic people did not adopt a sedentary lifestyle. And NCERT has given 4 reasons for it. First reason, if they have adopted a sedentary lifestyle, they would have consumed the whole fruits and resources of that particular area. So they had to move from one place to another. Second, they are hunters and animals are moving. So to keep a track of animals, they also have to move. So they have to be nomadic. Third point, they need water to drink. Not all rivers are perennial. Most of the rivers are seasonal. So they have to go in search of those rivers which has water in them. So they have to move. Fourth, they are gatherers. They need fruits. Fruits do not germinate, or like you don't see fruits like in every month, or I hope you are understanding. Oranges you are not seeing in the same month as you're seeing mangoes. So they are becoming fruits in different seasons. So they have to go to different places to find different fruits. So all these are reasons. These are 4 major reasons why Paleolithic people were not sedentary or were not using or not having sedentary form of lifestyle. This is written in NCERT and you have to keep it in mind. They can ask you different questions, so they can give you different facts based on that. Fine. So this is the chronology. The dates are approximate date. These varies from book to book, sources to sources. You don't have to remember or mug up the facts. Just remember Paleolithic, Mesolithic around 10,000 BC, domestication of animal. People, scholars assume that it has started. Neolithic period, agriculture started. Chalcolithic and Iron Age, we'll talk about it later on also. And CBI is the mnemonic for chronology of metals. Copper, bronze, iron. Fine. Stone Age, we have discussed all these things. You read it. I am not here to read the PPT. That's your work. My work is to give you conceptual clarity. 99% of human prehistory we have just discussed is Paleolithic period. Fine. In the end, we will be doing certain questions. Now they are giving you different types of tools, which has been here, which you can see here. And in the end, you will be seeing some PYQs, you will be seeing some practice questions. So you can post in the comment section. I will reiterate it again and again. Whatever marks you're getting, you can post it in the comment section. That will be a good way of you revising different stuff. Now, what is important from Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period? If you talk about prelims perspective, sites are very important. What are different sites like Adamgarh, Bhimbetka? They are Paleolithic site, you know. And then Burjahom, Gufkaral, they are like Neolithic site. Mesolithic site, Bagod in Rajasthan, that is a prominent Mesolithic site. Atir Ramapakkam in Tamil Nadu, that is a major prominent Paleolithic site. So you have to remember these specific Paleolithic site, especially Atir Ramapakkam, because it remains in news, or it remains in use for some reason or the other. Fine. So again, there are different tools which has been given here. You can see it. This is important. You can see here the list of different like Paleolithic sites, and here the sites which are very important, like Bhimbetka, it is very important. Adamgarh, it is very important. UNESCO World Heritage Site. Belan Valley, where it is, where they're using the actual belan which our mothers use in the kitchen. So Belan Valley, UP. So remember these names. Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. Tamil Nadu, Atir Ramapakkam, very important Paleolithic site. Sometime what they will do is they will give you these names and they will give you different states or wrong states. So you have to also remember where are these particular states. Look like these Atir Ramapakkam, Kurnool or Bhimbetka, where are they located, in which particular state. So here I can see that you may not see the whole map, so I will give you the bigger version of the map. Now you can see all these sites. Adamgarh, Bhimbetka, very important. You cannot forget it. See here River Belan, and here you have Belan Valley, which is in UP. Cool. So remember this, Belan Valley, UP. So again, not all the sites are here, but the previous slide, it has given you a list. Have a look at that list. Try to remember as much as possible, especially remember those sites which I have told you to remember, like Atir Ramapakkam remains in use for some reason or the other. So you have to remember it, Tamil Nadu. Fine. And then here again, we are talking the same thing which we have just discussed, Paleolithic period, what used to happen, hunting, gathering, no settled habitation, movement from one place to another, what NCERT says we have discussed. Then climate changed and certain things happened in Mesolithic period which allowed for domestication of animals, finer tools which are known as microliths. Remember the word. They can ask you microliths were used in which particular period. You have to say Mesolithic period. They can ask you Bagod is a very famous. Which kind of site? You have to say Mesolithic site. And where is Bagod? Bagod is in Rajasthan. You have to also remember the state per se. So here it's such a hazy Mesolithic site map. This is Bagod, which is there in Rajasthan. You can forget all the other sites. Don't forget Bagod. Bagod is very, very, very famous Mesolithic site. Okay, so these are again tools, you can see it. Mesolithic period subsistence pattern. Adamgarh was also a Paleolithic site. It is also a Mesolithic site. People continued to live there. That is the basic meaning here. Oh, just a second. Neolithic period. Again, there are some factual terms here. Who coined it? Sir John Lubbock. I don't believe that UPSC will like lower its standard to such a level that they will ask you these kind of terms. But you never know, bro. You never know. So term Neolithic was coined by whom? Sir John Lubbock. Gordon Childe said that this was a revolution, not an evolution. We have just discussed it. And again, all the things which we have just discussed is written here. Now, there are different tools which has been shown. You can watch it. Just give me a second. Geographical location. Now, this is important. This slide is important. The information which you are seeing here is important. Mehergarh, Neolithic period, revolution, Gordon Childe. Why revolution? Agriculture. Earliest evidence of agriculture in Indian subcontinent. Where do you find it? Mehergarh. And later on you will see there is a site which is known as Nevasa, which is around 16 kilometers from Mehergarh, which became a prominent Harappan site. So Mehergarh, earliest evidence, that is in Pakistan. And here you have evidences of wheat and cotton cultivation. So there was a question which was asked in UPSC that which of the following crops were brought from New World to Old World. New World is Americas, North America, South America. Old World is Asia, Africa and Europe. And there they have given in certain options wheat, certain options cotton. it was already grown in Mehergarh, bro. So like 6,000, 7,000 BC. So why do we need it from New World? So again, that's how you could have eliminated that, or eliminated different options and arrived at the correct option. I will show you that question later on. So again, all these things are written here. Mehergarh is important. Burja home and Guf Karal in Kashmir. Very important because they used to do pit dwelling. What is pit dwelling? What happens in pit dwelling? See, Kashmir is very cold. It's very cold. So people used to dig holes and they used to live there because that is comparatively warmer. So that is pit dwelling, circular and rectangular. Balan Valley, UP, you have heard about it earlier also. So remember Balan Valley, it is in UP. Kurnool is in Andhra Pradesh. Atir Ramapakkam is in Tamil Nadu. Fine. So again here, you can also see certain Neolithic period or Neolithic sites rather of Northeast, Sarutaru and Daujali Hading. But the major or the most important sites which are here is which you have to remember, you cannot forget, is Burja home. Then Mehergarh is very important. Earliest evidence of agriculture in Indian subcontinent. Anything which is earliest or first or biggest or largest, they became important. Your first girlfriend, your first this and that, hope you're understanding where I'm going with this. So again, Neolithic period. Here they have given a chronology. You can watch this chronology. I will make you understand this I will just use a blank slide and I will tell you what I want to tell you. So generally what happens, if I ask you right now, what is the most important prerequisite of urbanization? This is the question for me, and then I will tell you what the previous slide was telling you. So most important prerequisite of urbanization. Most important prerequisite of urbanization. And I'm waiting for you to answer it in the chat section. I guess there will be a certain amount of time lag and whatever, but still I will take a pause of 30 seconds so I can take also some breathing, because I speak I lose a lot of energy very fast. But the question here is, when you see urban areas, Gurgaon, Delhi, whatever, you see urban areas, how do these urban areas get formed? What is the most important requirement for urbanization? What do you want to say about this? Anything? I'm just waiting for you people to write something in the chat section. Somebody has written Pallavaram Atira Ramapakkam Gudi. Very good, yaar. So when I asked that Al-Baruni's book, there was an answer, Kitabul Hind. Very good, yaar. Very nice. Very, very, very nice. Okay, I will wait for 10 more seconds and then we will talk about this whole thing. That if you are seeing certain towns, what is the most important prerequisite of urbanization? People are trying. The most important prerequisite of urbanization is surplus production. Please understand this. If you don't have food in your stomach, you will not think about becoming an IAS officer, or I will not think about becoming the best faculty in this country or the world or the universe. So I have food in my stomach, and that's why I can do what I'm doing. Otherwise, if I had been hungry, I would have gone to my village, I would have done the cultivation. So when we talk about urban areas, urbanization is also there in your GS Mains paper 1 syllabus, right? And there are different definitions according to Census 2011 and other data, but most of the different sources converge on one fact, that if you talk about an urban area, 75% or more population has to be engaged in non-agricultural activities. So that means if you're living in an urban area, most of the people are doing non-agricultural activities. How does that happen? So please understand this. If we do not have surplus production, we will not have food, we don't have enough food in our stomach. We'll be doing agriculture, ruralization will continue. Let me make you understand how this whole urbanization thing happens. So let's say, let me draw a map like this. Let's say there are different small villages. Different small villages. And let's say each village needs 60 units for subsistence. 60 units for their own consumption. And they produce 100 units. So they produce 100 units. So this surplus 40 unit, what they will do is they will keep it with them. Fine. Same, let's take a uniform case, a very idealistic case. Everybody is having same scenario. 60 units, 100 units. 60 units they need for subsistence, 100 units they are producing. Each one of them have 40 units. So they will go to a common center. All these people who have 40 units surplus, they will go to a common center and they will try to sell this surplus production. So this is what you call as trade. And where they will be going, this common center is that urban town you are saying, or urban center, right? So now when they are going for trade, when they have this surplus production, there will be dacoits, which you say in English. And these people will try to loot all these surplus production. Now these people will need security. These people who have come to sell their surplus production, they will need security. The person who will provide them security will be the king. If group of people are providing them the security, they'll be Gana Sangha. So that's how everything pans out. Surplus production will lead to urbanization, will lead to formation of kingdoms, and that's how kingdoms, Janpads and Mahajanpads, happened during the second urbanization period, which happened in 6th century BC. So hope you're understanding how we are linking or connecting the dots here. So the most important prerequisite of urbanization is surplus production. Keep that in mind, and that was what was said in the previous slide where we are seeing the chronology. Now again here they have given you certain data, certain facts, what happened where, and different things. So just have a look at it. I'm not reading it. Economic state, we have talked about how these different periods were different. Paleolithic period, hunting gathering. Mesolithic period, domestication of animals started. Neolithic period, the condition improved. Beginning of agriculture. God and Child is saying that this is a Neolithic revolution, and people moved from parasitic lifestyle to, or nomadic lifestyle to, sedentary lifestyle. We have talked about it. And now let's come to some questions. Let's solve some questions. And whatever questions you are getting right here, whatever questions, like, just solve these questions and see how many questions you're getting right, and whatever is your marks. Let's say there are 6 questions including PYQs, and if you're getting all of them correct, write 6 out of 6. Whatever is your answer, or whatever questions you're getting correct, you can post it in the comment section. So punchmark coins were made of, what is the answer here? We have discussed this when we're talking about numismatics. We have talked about this. So punchmark coins were made of, what do you want to say? They were made of what? The answer is, you can pause me here. When you are solving these questions, you can always pause me. You can solve the question and then you can unpause me. They were made of silver. We have talked about it. Earliest coins which we have found in the Indian subcontinent. Then, second question, this is a PYQ. So this is a chronological question which happened first and then next and then next. Take a guess. Maybe based on this first lecture, you will not be able to solve this in entirety. I will just like leave a bit. You can have a look at it. You can have a look at all the options. And what do you think is the answer? Fine. So the answer here is, see what will happen. You may feel like I have told you that surplus production is a prerequisite, and you may feel like iron flow came first, and then using those iron tools, forests were cleared, and then the surplus production thing happened, and then urban culture. No. Understand this. We have read the mnemonic, which was CBI, copper, bronze, and iron. So iron happened around 1000 BC. Urban culture, the earliest evidence we found it in 2600 BC when IVC happened. Fine. And this iron clothing is around 1000 BC. Then punchmark silver coins, it is around 600 BC. Again, no fixed date. 500, 600 BC is the rough time period. And then gold coins happen much later. Let's say post-modern period, 2nd century BC, 3rd century BC, post-modern period, much later. Let's say 200, 100 BC. So if you arrange it, the order will be 4, 3, 2, 1, D. So you can get it wrong, don't worry about it. The major objective is you practice these questions, you get better at it, and that will help you a lot. So let's do some practice question. Let's say I give you this particular question. Fine. Consider the following Paleolithic site. How many pairs are correctly matched? You have site, you have state, and these kind of questions, patterns are very famous with UPSC now. They will give you 1 pair match, correctly matched, 2 pair, and whatnot. So see this particular question and try to answer it. So if you can always pause me and then unpause me. Kurnool is not in Tamil Nadu, it is in Andhra Pradesh. Atiramapakkam is in Tamil Nadu. Belan Valley is not in Rajasthan, it is in UP. So that means only 1 pair is correctly matched. Answer is B, only 1. So Paleolithic site, you can see it here, Belan Valley, UP. See this particular question? With reference to Stone Age, and again I will just go like this so that you can see the whole question. With reference to Stone Age, proto-history refers to what? So the answer is both. We have discussed 3 definitions of proto-history. Both of these definitions were there. The answer is C, both A and B. You can go back and you can read what we have discussed in proto-history. Then this question. Again, only one pair is correct, and how many of the above statements are correct? You can have a look at this particular question. Okay, so many answers are coming from Gaurav, Fulfith, again Gaurav, good here. You can also write like which answer you are saying of which particular question. Like if you have written B or D, then like B for what? Like Prashasti, just write a keyword associated with the question so that I can understand which question is referred to what. So here, if we talk about Prashastis, Allahabad pillar inscription. So you know for sure that the third statement is wrong. Always use option elimination when you're preparing for UPSC, especially prelims. So option elimination will help you a lot. Don't think about what option you know or not know. Like first of all, think what option is actually totally correct. Allahabad Prashasti does not belong to Chandragupta II. We know it belongs to Samudragupta. That means the third option is wrong. The other 2 statements are very general statement about Prashasti. So that means the answer is 2 only. So again, this is what is written here. That's it for sources and Stone Age, and hope you got the whole concept a little bit clear. Like you will not mug up fact. My basic objective is when I'm teaching all these things, when I will teach you history and then other subjects, my basic objective is to give you a clarity so that you don't need to mug up things, so that you can understand things in a better manner. And again, I will reiterate the stand which most of the people ask, like should we be studying some other things apart from like these lectures? So just read sources and Stone Age, just read about it, and like from here you don't have to refer to any other source, and you can supplement this particular source with the mocks. If you give some mocks, you get some questions from sources of Stone Age, you get them wrong and you feel like this is a new fact, add it in your, like wherever you're making notes of this particular lecture. So that's it. You don't have to read any more sources because there is no limit to sources. You will get lost in the sea of sources. You have to confine yourself. As they say, and again there is a cliche, minimum sources, maximum revision. That is a very true cliche. We have talked about it in the previous orientation session also. You can go back and you can watch that orientation session to know more about me, what this course will be all about, and follow these courses diligently if possible. Watch the video multiple times and make notes of it. Only after 2-3 times you have seen the video, then you will realize what thing you are forgetting, what thing is very important for you, and that will vary from person to person. So hope I made some sense here. So I'll be keeping myself up until here only, and we'll meet tomorrow, not tomorrow, like we'll meet on Monday 7 p.m. and we'll be talking about the next lecture that will be on Chalcolithic period and IVC. We'll be solving some questions and we'll be getting better at history, and then we'll be getting better at other subjects also like polity, economy, IR, etc., etc.